Thanks everyone for joining today. I'm Melanie Yencken, and I'm going to be presenting to you today some of my learnings and my experience as a UX lead and my role as the manager and the lead of the team to drive inclusive team culture. All through the presentation, I'm using inclusive illustrations from a great resource, which is humans.com with 3 A's. So I just recommend that as an option, and I'll mention it towards the end as well. So just a little background on who I am. So I'm Melanie. I lead a design team at Google who design experiences for our product called Google My Business that allow businesses to get on to search and maps. And about 5 years ago, I founded a women's network called London Tech Ladies, which runs monthly free soft skill training events for women in London in the technology industry. So why am I here? Why am I talking to you about this? I'm passionate about inclusion, but what is inclusion is I'm often asked. So from my perspective, I see it as the space when everyone's unique identity experiences are respected, valued, and fully integrated into how a team and an organization operates. The differences improve the culture, the collaboration, and the innovation, and we see that materially impact the quality of our products and services that we provide because we're embracing those differences in the people in our team. Unfortunately, we're still seeing a lack of diversity all through the pipeline, but it gets worse as we get through senior sectors and as talent matures. This is a great report from McKinsey Women in the Workplace, and they republish this every year, and they kind of show you where I see a big drop off between entry level and manager and through to those senior levels. We're still seeing a lack of gender and other forms of diversity through the pipeline. For me, I think there's something really wrong with how opportunities are provided for diverse talent to move up the ladder. For every 100 men who are promoted, only 72 women are promoted, and just 68 Latina women and 58 Black women. And I'm focusing my presentation today not on the earlier stages of this process, like recruitment and attracting diverse talent. I'm focusing more on embracing, retaining, and developing the diverse talent that you have in your business already, and how to help them succeed within your business and within your team. So I fundamentally think the role of the manager and the leader of the team is the place that we need to start, because the manager is basically, their behavior matters. Whatever behavior that they demonstrate is mirrored by the behavior in the team. And the bias of the manager matters, because the manager ends up deciding work allocations, who is promoted, the success of the team. And if they aren't aware of their unconscious biases, then this makes a big difference in terms of how the talent can succeed in the team. And the reality is that although a company will have a culture, employees experience the company through their manager. People leave a job because of their manager, not generally because of the company. And it's like we get these subcultures within teams based on who is leading and managing that team. So I'm talking today around 3 pillars of my experience over my career. The first is how we build team trust and respect. The second is how we cultivate diverse perspective in the team. And thirdly, how we provide equal opportunities to all of those members of our teams. So if I just start with team trust and respect first, to me, that translates to psychological safety. At Google, we did a lot of research into what makes a team succeed. We looked at all the different factors, and the one thing that correlated across all of our successful teams is that they had psychological safety. And where we see that translate is it means that they are able to make mistakes. They talk about those mistakes with honesty. When there's an issue that arises, it's about the team, not the individual, and the team together focus on that learning. Amy Edmondson is an expert on psychological safety in the workplace, and I'd highly recommend going and having a look at her TED Talk. She presents this really well. And the reality is that we as individuals are getting in our own way to kind of have that psychological safety and to really be our authentic selves in the workplace. My experience at Google so far, I joined about a year and a half ago, is that I'm experiencing imposter syndrome at certain times. I'm surrounded by people who are experts in their field, who've created amazing products. I see and I feel myself this need, for perfectionism, that I have to be presented as doing things perfectly, or at least I have initially created that false sense of that. And this fear of failure. And these are generally things people feel when they're kind of, especially in a new environment, and we tend to focus on being accepted rather than being ourselves. So that translates really well in Amy Edmondson's model. So like, if we don't want to seem ignorant, so we don't ask questions. We don't want to seem incompetent, so we don't admit to our weaknesses. We don't want to seem intrusive, so we don't offer our ideas to someone else. We don't want to seem negative, so we don't challenge the status quo. But all of these things are vital for a team to really succeed in what they're working on, because they have to challenge the direction. They have to ask these tough questions. They have to offer diverse opinion. And if you don't have an environment that allows people to do that, then you won't have that environment where you can spark that debate and kind of uncover issues early on and move forward with them. So I kind of say that psychological safety is two main areas that I like to create in the team. The first is embedding empathy and trust into the team. And the second is kind of giving them permission to fail, to have these learnings. So I introduced myself earlier. I said, I was a design lead at Google, and I gave you a 30-second spiel about who I am. But who am I really? Like, can you really trust me? Often in the workplace, that is the same amount of introduction you get to someone before you're expected to have debates, to challenge each other's ideas. And it's human nature that we can't do that with people until we trust them, until we feel like we understand each other as people. So we have to move forward from these surface level interactions that we have and actually get to know each other as real people. Some of the ways that I do that with the team is by sharing, like, who am I really? So we did this share exercise, which was like, who am I at work, where we do a personality survey, and I share things like how I like to be communicated, how I like to get feedback, the areas I have for my own growth, like how can I be better at delegating and operating at that higher level. So strengths I have, what my weekly must-haves are, so people can really understand who I am and how I like to work. And then at the same time, I think it's even more important to share like who I am outside of work, like who am I as a person. This is a 10-minute presentation that I'm condensing down to just a short summary to give you a taste of how this might work. But I'm Melanie. I love burgers. I have this crazy obsession with burgers. I eat them, I make them, I collect them. Started as a young age, but I can give you a lot of burger recommendations if you come over to London. And I also make crazy elaborate gingerbread, and I'm in a competition with myself every year to kind of improve upon my previous creation, adding in automation and robotics. I got married 2 years ago to my husband, Max, and I have 3 fur babies, so I absolutely love. And I love working with my husband to renovate property. And we have just moved into our 3rd place in the last 4 years, kind of flipping through properties to move up from a 1-bedroom to now in a 3-bedroom place. So there I shared with you like just a small snapshot of my life, but probably you might have seen one thing that we have in common or sparked interest in you. And then if we met in a room after this, we could have a conversation about something that isn't work, where we could actually connect at a real level and start to see each other as humans, and then begin that empathy and trust building. So another exercise that I like to do in our team meetings to make us connect as humans, before we're expected to get into that debate, is this great tool called TS Check. And it basically just rotates through different questions that you can use to either start or finish a team meeting. And we did this yesterday in my team meeting, and the question was, what is your lifetime goal? Which is, not necessarily related to work, but really great for the team to connect and understand who we all are as people. Another thing that we do is run team exercises to express appreciation. for something about a project or a colleague. The reason why I focus on this appreciation and compassion is that it's shown in research that it supports and promotes a culture of respect and inclusion when you have acknowledgement and appreciation in the workplace and in the functions of how you work. So encouraging that in the team is important so that you're not just having debate and challenge, you're also having them feel safe and secure and appreciated for their work. Importantly, as well to this culture is this permission to fail. And how do you reframe failures as learnings? Because a failure is really, if you do it quickly, a really positive thing because you have understood a direction that you shouldn't be going in, understood and learned from that and moved on and haven't like over-invested resources in that particular direction. So we try and like have tales of fail where people share the, their 5-minute stories of key failures that we actually want to celebrate. Like we want to humanize this concept of failing and build it into the team culture. Great. So the second area I'm talking about today is cultivating diverse perspective and how you do that in the team. So for me, one of the major ways that we're meeting, especially now in this new reality where everything is online, if you make meetings inclusive, you go a long way in making the workplace inclusive. So I'm going to talk a lot about how I make meetings more inclusive for all types of talent. So some of these things I hope will sound pretty obvious, but the reality is I go and have been to a lot of meetings that don't have some pretty basic things like an agenda and the attendees, and an understanding of why they're there and what their role will be in that meeting so that they feel comfortable to participate. Having someone and a method to actually manage interruptions and dominance in the meeting, and also understanding that not everyone has to speak up, but they should have the opportunity and that should be facilitated for them. So before we have the meeting, there's a few things that we need to do. We have to share the purpose of the meeting. We have to have an agenda. And ideally, we should have materials sent in advance so people can follow along. Research shows that people who are introverted take longer to understand new information and be able to process it in a way that they are comfortable to speak up about it and ask questions and challenge it. So it's very hard in a meeting where you're presented with a new strategy or new content to then suddenly have a meaningful contribution and question if you haven't had time to process that information first. Afterwards, making sure you do follow up, sharing those key insights and decisions so that someone who might have been slightly affected in the meeting, not in the best headspace, or even couldn't attend, can actually follow along and feel like they have access to the same information as the people who were in the meeting itself. Something that you need to do as a manager and leader is manage the bias in the room. So something I try to do is recognize when an idea was shared by someone else and is being restated, and having people, instead of claiming it, amplify it. So, building on Sasha's idea, we wanted to add, or if someone else restates something, actually attributing the ownership of that idea. Oh, yes, I remember Sasha stated that a few minutes ago in this context, so that we're recognizing the origins of ideas. And then, as a manager, it really is your role to call interruptions when you see them. Return the floor to the person who was interrupted so that they can finish what they were saying. So something that we do in our design crits, which works really well for making sure that we get feedback from everyone, is that we give everyone a voice, but in a way that they can be comfortable to do. So we've created ways for more introverted people to contribute. So we have an online whiteboard where everyone's typing their feedback. When the presenter is making their presentation, no one speaks. They get their 10 minutes uninterrupted so they can get through all of their content. And then afterwards, we go through the list alphabetically and then reverse alphabetically. So everyone has an opportunity and they're called to the room to unmute, and they can say, I have no feedback, that's fine. But they have given the space and they don't have to unmute themselves and kind of come forward, because we're already seeing that a lot less people are speaking up in meetings because what they need to do, it's harder for them to own the room online as it was in a normal meeting room. So when we used to have people on dialing in and some people in the room, we would always give the voice to those on video conference first. I've carried that principle forward now, where I let people who aren't necessarily, who might be visitors to the group, who aren't maybe the normal team group, if we have people joining us, speak first, so they get that opportunity and don't feel like they're an outsider and their opinion won't be respected. Importantly, to encourage in the team to make meetings work well is to understand, get the team to understand how to listen better. So how do you get your team to listen to learn rather than listening to respond? So there's different levels of listening that you can do, and active listening is really important. Most of the time when people are listening to something in a conversation, they're listening just to figure out what they should respond. Like they're articulating their sentence in terms of what they're going to say rather than understanding what is being said by the other person. It's human nature. Like we want to be seen well, we want to show up well. So we're thinking about, okay, what do I need to say next? But in reality, we need our team members to be really focusing on the content that other people are sharing so that they will listen to understand instead. So you can do little exercises with active listening where you can pair up people and get them, get them to share a problem that they have for 2 minutes. The other person can't say anything. Like for 2 minutes, they just have to sit there and listen, and they have to practice active listening through that. And they really see how they're not necessarily active listening in a lot of contexts. All right, now my final area I'm talking about is providing equal opportunities to all of those within your team. So a lot of this as a manager and a leader is about busting your own bias. So how can you recognize where you might have biases, but without blaming yourself necessarily? And why I say bias without blame is like literally everyone has bias. It's human nature. It's how we're raised. It's the context of which we've grown up within. It's the context of the company, of our culture. But it's okay. We all have a bias. We have to recognize that. But as long as we take the time to understand what our biases are and manage them proactively, it's okay. Some common biases that I see, which I experience myself, is this, tending to favor people we like, who are similar to us. As managers, we tend to give opportunities to people we deem competent. So someone who's already succeeded at something and who has the necessary skills for that, rather than someone who's, trying to get extra skills, or maybe making an assumption that someone who's returned from paternity leave might not have enough time for a project. So we really have to make sure that we're checking those biases regularly. At Google, we are supported in that all managers and decision makers in any performance or promotion decision go through unconscious bias training. And then we also have roles in the room for all of those discussions. We'll have a bias buster who's focused specifically through the whole meeting on trying to recognize if we might be applying bias in certain instances. So the reality is, unfortunately, in a lot of circumstances, if you don't ask for something, you don't get it. What does that mean? I've kind of built a lot of teams through my career, and I've seen that certain people, tends to be women or people from minority backgrounds, don't negotiate when they're coming into their new role for the salary, are less likely to put their hand up and ask for a promotion. And unfortunately, that is the reality that we work within today. HP did an analysis themselves of their internal job applications, and they saw that men were applying for jobs when they met 60% of the qualifications that were listed on the job description, and women were only applying if they met 100% of them. And so this kind of shows you that this is how society is today. So as a manager, that people in your team will be too uncomfortable to ask, but they do want more. So you need to think about how things are being allocated in your team and assume at all times that there are people who haven't told you that they want something more than what they have today. So the way I try and tease out that information in a fair way, so that you're not just giving things to the people who have a loud voice, is to have a really structured, intentional career plan for every individual, and ensure that they all have this, and that you and them understand their own motivations and like where they want to get to in their career, so that you can look with a quality in terms of project assignment to understand that you're giving each person the opportunity that they might need to get to the next level in their career. And so I have this structured document. And one way that I start it, which is really interesting to kind of understand how an individual is motivated, is I ask them to spend 100 points across these different areas of what's motivating them. How would they spend those points? Do they care more about recognition or job security or flexibility, or are they just really motivated by the promotion? So that you can understand how you should be supporting them as a manager. And then I get them to focus on these 4 points. So firstly, like, what job do they want in the next 5 years? Doesn't need to be where they are now, doesn't need to be in my team, but like, what is that role? And what skills do they need to learn now that will springboard them into that job, so that we can then figure out how they get those skills? How do we structure some smart goals that help them measure getting those new skills? And then what are they going to not do to stay focused? Because the reality is we have far too much pulling our attention away, and we need to be able to prioritize so that we're doing the things that add up to this meaningful goal for our careers. Then is something really important that I'm always banging on about, which is being conscious of all the work your team are doing. There are a lot of smaller contributions that go unnoticed, often stuff that's being done silently, which is vital to a project. So trying to unearth those smaller pieces which are actually crucial to the running of a project, and make sure that those people are recognized for that. Then, my final point is around office housework. So not many people know this term, but it's office housework is like tasks like ordering lunch or booking meetings or taking notes or doing the birthday calendars, and the cards and the gift buying. All of those tasks are non-promotable tasks. And the research shows that certain groups of people, including women and people of color, are more likely to volunteer or be assigned to this kind of work. And taking it on literally hurts their careers, because it reduces the time they have available to work on promotable tasks, to get those skills to step up into the next role. So as a manager, you have to monitor the assignment of that work. So ensure that you're conscious of who is completing office housework. Create a schedule for rotating those tasks, like taking notes in your meetings, so that the burden of that is shared equally across the team. And yes, so those are my 3 areas I've talked to you today about: building team trust and respect, cultivating diverse perspective, and providing those equal opportunities to all members of your team. So I hope that was valuable for you and you've had a few key takeaways. And there were quite a few resources that I mentioned in the presentation. So I'll share a list and links to all of those for you, so that you'll be able to access them after this. But thanks for listening, and looking forward to answering all your questions.